Dunchbags, what's going on? It's Landon Remixes here, and it's time for my review of this new EP from DROELOE called The Choices We Face. And do you guys want to introduce yourselves?
Hey guys, we're DROELOE. Glad to be here, man. Glad that we can make this happen.
Yeah.
For you guys watching who might not know the backstory of this, I reviewed DROELOE's debut EP, A Moment in Time, last year, and then I bumped into them at a Paradiso festival earlier this summer, and Hein recognized me and said oh, I saw your review, I recognize you from your review of the EP. So I was super ecstatic about that, because I don't know, it's always exciting to find out when artists watch my reviews. So then later in the summer I had proposed that we do a review together, whether it be of an upcoming EP or album or something, and they agreed, and I'm really excited about it. So I've had this EP for a little bit in rotation, and I'm really excited to talk about it with you guys, because I feel like this may be your biggest project yet. So I guess more than anything, before I get into any of my own interpretations or anything on this EP, what does The Choices We Face mean to you two?
Well, we like to tell stories with the things that we make. I think this was a story that we both connected with.
So I think with A Moment in Time, we told this story of us going on tour for the first time and everything that we experienced, and it was kind of more of almost a cathartic experience for us to translate that all those things that happened into music. I feel that The Choices We Face is basically a continuation of that idea. It's a representation of how we felt at the moment and the things that we were dealing with at the moment. Because obviously it's A Moment in Time reflected upon us going on tour for the first time. This EP reflects more on how
the possible ways that you can take while doing this, and the possible outcomes that could have as well.
Yeah, it's we've gone to that point where we've done a bunch of festivals and people know our music and everything's going well. Now it's time to really define what is DROELOE and make a choice to what type of position we're gonna be in and what type of stamp that we want to leave on the world, I guess.
I totally get what you guys are saying about this being a continuation off of A Moment in Time. I honestly felt like this was a more expansive take on what you guys were kind of doing there, and kind of stretches out that time frame and tells the story in a little bit more of a clear way. I feel like this is also a story more than anything that people can connect to, because I felt myself personally connecting to this. Obviously the track titles point to a specific storyboard. I kind of feel, to me it feels like a personal story, and it's just about life. The First Wish to me feels like I've been taken back to my childhood and imagining the future and what the future could possibly hold. And then Weird Machine, the lyrics kind of bring me back to my days in middle school and high school, and kind of just feeling like an outcast. And that's where I connected with that. Limbo, or Taking Flight, kind of taking those first steps. It kind of has an unsure kind of feel to it, taking those first steps and trying to push forward in a career. Limbo kind of being in a weird in-between state where you don't know what's in front of you, and you're just kind of taking the next step by step. It's just a continuation of that, not kind of knowing what's ahead of you, but just chugging forward. And then I liked how the lyrics of that song also connected into Turn Around, because there's a line that said, did I walk too far to turn around? And then Turn Around is the very next track. And I think, but it's an interesting way to flip it by that point in the EP, because it seems like Turn Around is more of a positive thing at this point in the EP, more turn around to look back at your accomplishments and the things you've done, rather than turn around to walk back and take back all you've done. And then Looking Back is just a really positive, encouraging song as well. While there are some sad tones to it, I think it is a positive song. Just keep fighting, just keep kind of chugging forward. So that was kind of my interpretation of the EP.
Wow.
And throughout the whole thing, I think you guys did a really great job of conveying the central themes of each song and each title with the chords and everything that you guys are using. It I feel immersed, I'd say, more into this EP than previous projects you've done. I wanted to ask you guys kind of off-related question. How do you guys gather your sounds? Because one of the things that I really appreciate you guys is your like super organic sound design, and I kind of wanted to know like how do you guys come up with that stuff?
I think it's for a big part cumulative. How do you say that? Like a ongoing process from the days that we were in school, and we had big like sound libraries back then as well. But we used to record a lot too. At least I did in back in the day. I use a lot of that stuff, but also some contact libraries and try to at least have one organic layer of like within every sound in the end. Yeah, I think that makes it feel more real in a way.
One thing that I did want to mention as well is when I showed this EP to a friend, I recommended it to him, and then he came back. He didn't actually like the EP that much, so I was kind of sad about that. But he said it reminded him a lot of this album called Crybaby by Melanie Martinez. I'm not sure if you guys have like ever heard that one.
No.
I'm kind of guessing no. I had never heard the album before,
No.
but like if you listen to it, a lot of the like sonic things that are going on there are very similar. It's kind of telling a story of like her childhood in like using this character called Crybaby. But I'm not gonna get too into it because. But I think the interesting thing about that album is if you listen to like the production on it, it's actually like very similar to what you guys are doing, which kind of threw me off because it was like there's a lot of like xylophones and brass instruments and like clocks ticking and that kind of things, and I was like, whoa, this is like very very DROELOE. So
Sick.
yeah, I got where he was coming from, but I think you guys do end up taking like a little bit more of an organic approach, and the mixing is definitely better on this EP too than that one. I had some weird. I don't know. I felt like really attacked, like listening to that mixing. I don't know. Well, first of all, did my interpretation of that like sound all right?
It was pretty, yeah. Well, in the end, we like to keep it open to interpretation, and it's not that we want to dictate what people should feel by the work that we make, but it was pretty close to what we were thinking during the process and how we thought.
Yeah, it's pretty accurate.
Yeah.
Oh, one thing that I did want to mention before I forget is that the tune "Step by Step" actually reminds me a lot of Many Words, and I had originally been kind of flustered because Many Words, I'll admit, is like one of my favorite songs of the year so far, let alone like one of my favorites that you guys have done. I saw that it like wasn't on the track list, you know, Looking Back was the first single on this. But then I heard this song and it was like kind of a similar beat, kind of a similar bass line going on, different vocal. Obviously it's not the same kind of song, but it carries a similar vibe. But I liked how you guys kind of adapted that sound to work with the story of this EP, so I wanted to note that. As well as Weird Machine, I think I like that song for a lot of the same reasons that I enjoyed Homebound off the A Moment in Time EP, like very kind of poppy sound, very bouncy and fun and spunky. Except I would say I do like the vocal performance here from Nev. Like, this is probably one of my favorite appearances she's done, let alone like favorite appearances on her songs. I've noticed a reoccurring theme in a lot of your music is like not necessarily scat singing, but it's just a lot of like la da 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 do 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 instead of like actual lyrics, and that's on Taking Flight, I think.
When I try to think of melodies, I start humming, and at some point I was like, yo, why not keep this in? Because I can, if I'm gonna like rebuild this with a synth or anything, it's never gonna sound this organic, so why not try it and then mess it all up with a lot of effects and stuff, and I guess it worked.
Another thing I wanted to mention though is one of the spookier moments on the album, or not album, EP. One of the spookier moments is Limbo, and I'd say it's like, I know you guys used to do more like trap music before you guys started doing like the BITBIRD stuff, but like this is one of the heavier songs that you guys have ever worked on. So like, what was it like approaching that song as opposed to like the other songs in this EP?
I kind of feel like it was going back a little bit to the roots, because we both used to make more harder stuff. I came more from the hip hop side, and you did a lot of hardstyle back in the day.
Dude, back in the day, man. Back in the day when I didn't have any like taste or musical reference.
But you're the great nephew.
Dude,
You
it
made
was
beat.
it was fun times.
I guess that like heavy vibe we always loved. Yeah, we used to listen to Noisia. That's actually like
Okay.
a common love that we found when we just met each other.
Yeah, it's like we both really liked, I don't know, like Noisia and drum and bass and stuff, and all the a little bit more heavier sides of bass music. They're just very very popular here in Europe and very common. And I feel that
Hmm.
like me and Vince both, like not really not like a phase. It's not like an emo phase or something, but we both had like a Noisia drum and bass.
Yeah, I actually did want to know because that song has some kind of like maybe neuro or like halftime kind of growls going on in it. So I think I could almost even
Oh
hear
yeah,
like
those
noisia
growls were
influence in
actually
it.
sampled from a track that that was a previous from a previous project actually. Back when I used to make dubstep,
Oh
and
wow.
I just cut some like fills, cut them up, and sporadically put them in the track. But it was like all that in the original track, so it wasn't that good.
Another thing I wanted to ask, and this might not necessarily end up in the final video, but turn around says bonus track on the Apple like music.
Yeah,
Is that
there's a reason
supposed to
for
be
that.
a
Like
thing?
Yeah.
Apple Music only accepts EPs if there's 6 tracks. Like 6 tracks is the maximum length of an EP. Otherwise, it would be
Okay.
classified as an album, and
Yeah.
we really didn't want it to be classified as an album because it's not an album.
Yeah.
Right.
Um, so we had to make one track a bonus track, and then turn around
And
was
that was
like,
just the shortest one.
yeah, the shortest one's
Yeah.
like, it's gonna be a
Okay.
bonus track because it originally Turnaround was meant to be
It's an
an
interlude.
interlude for looking back.
So yeah, it still kind of is in that way.
I mean, it definitely feels like that. The end of the
Yeah.
track is like basically synonymous with
Yeah.
the beginning of looking back. I think that happens a couple other times that I wanted to note too. Like the end of Taking Flight has like a similar thing as like the beginning of Limbo, and you guys kind of twist it and make it super dark, and I like that a lot.
We did it we did it before on A Moment in Time as well, where the end of Back When is the begin is was the original intro for Sunburn.
Oh yeah,
Okay.
and also the sound in the beginning of Moment in Time was the
Yeah.
exact sound at the end of Just Now. Yeah.
Just that.
The last thing that I really wanted to note is like I think just when you're going by track into this EP, like my least favorite of the bunch, I'd say, ended up being Limbo, even though I don't think it's bad by any stretch, but like just my least favorite on the EP. I think though my biggest criticism, I'd say, because I have to be at least a little critical in these, is that it's not that big of a sonic jump. I don't think for you guys. Like I said, some of these ideas to me, like I said, Step by Step
Mm.
feels like a many words type track, and Weird Machine kind of feels like a homebound type track. So I'd say like sonically, you guys haven't necessarily moved as far forward as I felt like you did on the last EP, but that's not like a huge criticism either, because you guys, it's not like you guys have clones of songs. You're not doing like a Martin Garrix like Wizard Animals type of thing here, where
Yeah,
you're just
it
making the
doesn't
same
feel like
track
we
over and
started
over
the
again.
track while working in the project file of the other track. We would open the project file for ZZZ and then just started working on many words in that project file, but just moving the MIDI around. Like that's not really the case, thank
No, that
God.
is
But
not the case. But
yeah,
I do get what you're saying though.
yeah.
But I feel like in the end, like sonically evolving shouldn't be um, the goal. That should be the like more of a side result. For me, at least, music should evoke something and shouldn't be like about the sound, which a lot of music these days is. But if it feels good, why not?
Yeah.
Yeah, we knew the way how to get that sound, but the compositions and the way that we use that sound is pretty different. And I think yeah, I think the sound evolving is a more like gradually a thing that goes maybe even sometimes unnoticed. I don't
And
know.
I also think it's interesting for like making a second big project, so to say. What do people expect? Like, it's like because no matter what happens, it feels almost like you're always gonna lose
Yeah.
to certain people. Where it's like let's just say you take Porter, and it's like Worlds is a really good album and people really love that album, but it's never going to be like, if Worlds 2 would have like magically appear, it's never going to be good enough for people because
Mhm.
it's never going to connect with them in the same way, and it's never going to catch them by surprise that it did in the first way. So I think that's also a thing with like A Moment in Time and the choices we face. It's like the first time that we dropped A Moment in Time, a lot of people didn't really know who we were. That was the first time that they heard of us, and then it's like, oh, sonically this is so different. And then the next album, yeah, it's still gonna sound like DROELOE. It's just it's
Yeah.
different. It's like
I mean,
it's
like I
another
said,
story.
I'm not complaining in this case. It's
Oh
just
no no
like
no
No,
no
no,
no
no,
no
no.
for sure
it's
not.
just
But
a
I think
mild criticism, I guess. Because
yeah.
like I feel like more than anything with this EP is like I kind of said at the beginning of this review, you guys have kind of expanded on what you did with that EP and fleshed it out more and made it into a more immersive, like, personal story. And for that, like, I actually enjoy this EP. I'd say not a ton more, because I did like that EP quite a bit, but I do enjoy it more as like a project.
I
But
sick.
Sick.
so thank you guys so much for featuring on this. It's
Dude,
really
for
cool
sure.
that,
Thank
that
you,
you guys
man.
were able
Thanks for
to
having
hop
us.
on to be able to do this. But for the rating portion, for this EP, I'm probably feeling a strong 8 to a light 8.5 out of 10. Anyway, Dunch Bags, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Special thanks to DROELOE for featuring. I'll have their channel linked in the end card, where you can see, you can hear all their music and see some pretty cool graphic design from Pine over here. And yeah, down in the end card, you can also find my review of A Moment in Time, if you want to check that out for yourselves and see what I thought about that EP. Anyway, hope you guys enjoyed the review, and we'll see you later.
All right.
Peace.
Peace.
Bye bye.